as far as the business of boxing.
The best thing is a fighter needs to take almost everything.
Paid all that money and had the biggest stage in boxing on Netflix, and that is really the best they could do.
He knew that he could not beat Bud Crawford, which is why they basically paid him $100 million.
Canelo recently claimed on Joe Rogan's podcast that he hadn't given his full effort against Crawford after the loss. He alleged he fought at half speed, stayed flat-footed, and allowed Crawford to look sharper than he truly was. Canelo even hinted that financial and business factors influenced how the fight unfolded, controversially suggesting he was pressured to ease off and not compete with his usual intensity.
But how does that work? Because it's not pay-per-view. Do they still...
Netflix putting up the money.
So I'm saying, so they don't get no back end then?
No, there is no back end. There's ticket sales.
Yeah, because pay-per-view, the back end is the most.
There's no pay-per-view.
I guess if you give me $50 million up front, I don't really care about the back end.
Canelo's remarks seemed to validate what many in the boxing world had suspected immediately after the fight. Fans and analysts alike noted that something felt off in his performance. He barely used his jab, a weapon central to his past success, failed to string together his trademark combinations. And instead of maintaining steady pressure, he relied on single shots, stayed flat-footed, and showed little urgency as the rounds ticked by. The punch stats reflected the same story, ranking among the lowest of his entire career. Initially, observers attributed it to age or decline, but his own admission shifted the entire narrative.
Don't have the punching power, but he has the skills that's necessary.
Crawford.
Yeah.
So you were very impressed with his performance? Would you say?
Well, yeah. I did. The point of the matter is, I knew if it came down to if somebody got knocked out, I thought Crawford would probably get knocked out.
Yeah.
But I know better.
Oscar De La Hoya was one of the first to voice doubts. Just hours after the fight, he went on social media to question whether Canelo had truly prepared or if something else had been at play. Having promoted Canelo for years, De La Hoya said the performance didn't resemble the fighter he knew. In previous training camps, Canelo's sharpness and high output had been undeniable, yet against Crawford, he looked like a completely different fighter. For De La Hoya, it wasn't simply about age or decline. The showing was far too uncharacteristic.
When he got hit by Crawford and he took that deep breath, he's frustrated. Don't get me wrong. Canelo facing the right opponent that's going to stay in front of him, that's going to fight, that's going to make it a brawl, Canelo knocks him out. So I'm not saying Canelo's shot or done. No, it's far from.
Veteran fighter Gabe Rosado also weighed in, pointing out that Canelo appeared flat-footed, abandoned his jab, skipped combinations, and relied mostly on single punches. To Rosado, it looked like the performance of a fighter well past his prime rather than that of a reigning champion. His assessment echoed what Canelo later admitted. In past battles with Golovkin and other elite opponents, Canelo had used double jabs, crisp counters, and relentless pressure. But against Crawford, as Rosado noted, all of that was absent.
Watching Bud catch those shots off his glove,
he looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. Just all those things that seem...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo. Ever.
Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is...
Claressa Shields offered a different perspective, suggesting Canelo's body was simply wearing down. She noted his lack of movement, disappearance of combinations, and legs that appeared to have nothing left. All signs, in her view, of a long career approaching its end. At the time, that explanation sounded plausible. Meanwhile, David Benavidez, one of Canelo's fiercest rivals, maintained his long-standing critique. Even before the Crawford fight, he had argued that Canelo carefully selected opponents where he held the advantage, while steering clear of the toughest challenges. Afterward, Benavidez doubled down, saying the performance proved Canelo no longer wanted to take real risks.
Advice for him for his boxing business?
Because, the fighters always get the less money. And some of the fighters, they need to take the money, the guaranteed money, right? Because they don't make a lot of money in the fights, right? But they are as a fight.
According to Benavidez and many others, Canelo's main focus was simply the payday. While some fans were surprised, Benavidez wasn't. He had even predicted Canelo would keep heading down that road. Oscar De La Hoya, speaking to Fight Hype, offered a different view. To him, the Crawford fight was more about styles than decline. He dismissed the idea that Alvarez is finished, but admitted Canelo's future depends heavily on smart matchmaking. De La Hoya explained that if Canelo faces the right kind of opponent, someone who stands in front of him, trades shots, and turns it into a brawl, he still has the power to end a fight with a knockout. So I'm not saying he's done, De La Hoya said. Far from it. It's just about matchmaking, about who you put in front of him, and about squeezing the last big fights for the fans.
You see, Canelo is a strong fighter, and every punch he throws comes with power, right? That breaks down the body. Physically, his body is breaking down. Plus, he just had a kid. Canelo wants to go enjoy his life. He wants to keep his wits, keep his mind together, stay sharp, and go enjoy a little bit of that money that he just made. But he could not pass the torch to somebody that didn't respect the game. Canelo's at the top of the list. But
De La Hoya maintains that Canelo can still compete at the elite level, but only against opponents whose styles play to his strengths. Eddie Hearn, on the other hand, takes a different view. Speaking with Sports Illustrated, he emphasized both the commercial appeal and sporting intrigue of a Crawford rematch. For Hearn, the key storyline is whether Canelo can quiet the retirement chatter. Fans want to know if Alvarez can make adjustments or if Crawford will push him closer to the exit, Hearn said. He argued that Canelo could still surprise people, citing his history of reinventing his tactics. In Hearn's eyes, Alvarez has the tools to adapt, develop a new strategy, and put Crawford in real danger the next time they meet.
Mac, you've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
Oh, he's going to keep fighting.
He's going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In their first encounter, Canelo looked sharp early on, controlling the opening rounds with crisp counters and keeping Crawford uneasy. But as the fight progressed, the momentum swung the other way. From rounds 9 through 12, Crawford seized control, landing the cleaner shots and forcing Alvarez onto the back foot. For many observers, that late surge was the difference. Hearn believes that with a more calculated approach in the championship rounds, Canelo could flip the script in a rematch.
Already know, we knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit. No, I try.
Chris Eubank Jr. echoes that confidence, calling a rematch huge and insisting Canelo still has the tools to change the narrative. In his view, Alvarez's experience and power remain unmatched, provided he uses them correctly. His remarks mirror what many fighters believe. Canelo is still dangerous, but he must show he's ready to adapt. Trainer Robert Garcia has also voiced support for a second fight, stressing that hunger will be the deciding factor. Speaking to Fight Hype, Garcia said that if Alvarez returns with the fire he once had, he could beat Crawford. For Garcia, the key is simple. Avoid the tactical mistakes of the first fight and apply relentless pressure from start to finish, using his power instead of fading late. That outlook reflects the wider consensus in boxing. Canelo's skills are intact, but whether he can summon the mental drive to fully unleash them will ultimately shape his future.
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But don't.
For Crawford, the win over Alvarez, regardless of how it unfolded, has opened up a new landscape of possibilities. The key question now is who he'll face next. Some analysts predict he may avoid the most physically imposing threats. Fighters like David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, Diego Pacheco, and Bektemir Melikuziev pose significant risks with their size, strength, and punching power, all factors that could disrupt Crawford's slick, methodical style. Taking on such opponents would mean high risk with uncertain reward. Instead, many observers expect Crawford to pursue big money matchups with recognizable names who pose less danger. Options such as Jermall Charlo or Hamza Shiraz.
A potential rematch, as a Canelo fan, I don't really want to see that. I don't think there will be much difference. I don't think Canelo can bring anything to the table that's going to surprise Crawford. He's a different fighter now. If this was 10 years ago, yes, I think the fight could have gone a different way. But there's no point in even thinking that because Canelo's a different fighter now. They fought today. They fought when Crawford is older as well, so I can't be trying to say, well, Canelo's not in his...
This is where the business side of boxing truly comes into play. Crawford's victory has elevated him to a position where he can command enormous paydays, but the opponents he selects will determine how long he can hold that leverage. On the other side, Canelo's next move will be just as pivotal. A direct push for redemption against Crawford would generate global headlines and massive revenue. But if he opts for a safer fight against a more stylistically favorable opponent, it could signal that his career is entering its closing stages.
Between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Personally, I do not want to see a rematch. Usually rematches are in order when it's a very close fight and you can't really tell, which fighter won. There was a lot of close rounds, swing rounds. That wasn't the case in this fight. Terence Crawford won pretty handedly. I personally scored the fight 9-3. Being generous, you can give it 8-4. Now,
while critics often accuse Canelo of chasing paydays, even his biggest supporters acknowledge that no amount of money can erase the toll a fight like the one against Crawford takes. Modern boxing is driven by blockbuster bouts. Whether a fighter is past his prime or slowing down doesn't matter if the numbers add up. That's exactly what happened here. Canelo had already begun showing signs of decline, but the financial lure of a Crawford matchup was too powerful to ignore. The problem is that while the checks keep getting bigger, the punishment to the body doesn't stop. For Canelo, this may have been the payday with the steepest price yet.
Saw that. So the Coca-Cola I'm buying.
I risk my life in the ring, and everybody's making money too. It's not that they don't making money; they making money, but the fighter need to make more than everyone.
Coach Ronnie Shields didn't mince words after Canelo's loss. He flat out said it's time for him to retire. In an interview with Fight Hub TV, Shields explained that what he saw against Crawford was all the proof he needed. The energy, the sharpness, and the trademark pressure that once defined Canelo were simply gone. In his view, this isn't about switching trainers or tweaking tactics. It's about time catching up. He put it bluntly. No coach alive can save Canelo at this stage. Firing Eddie Reynoso or hiring someone new wouldn't change the outcome. Because the real issue isn't strategy. It's that Canelo's body no longer responds like it used to, and no amount of training can reverse that.